What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the two Growls One Roar podcast. Hey, folks, it's a game week. And if you are here, which I appreciate it, please hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube or the follow button if you are listening to this podcast on whatever podcast platform that you listen to. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know this is a late episode. It's been a busy week for me. Lots of stuff going on, and I did not get this out now until Friday. I am planning to come back with one more additional episode before this game with a bit more detail, or at least some bonus content. So I will get that. This is going to be a little bit shorter than the normal episode that we put out. But hey, folks, we're here. We're ready. It's another week of the Red Rifle. Panthers came up just short last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, and now they travel again to Chicago. And man, the storylines are all across the board. I think coming into the season, a lot of people circled this game with the opportunity or chance, potential to see Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. But that's not going to happen, folks. We have Andy Dalton still at the helm. And to be honest, I think Andy Dalton likely the future of this team. I think whatever happens at the end of the season, that we possibly see Andy or another veteran that comes in here. And I don't know what to tell you about Bryce Young and his future with this team. It's hard to imagine going back, and it's only because of the difference. When you look at what we saw in the first 2 weeks, just of this season alone, and then the comparison of what Andy Dalton was able to do, it's a head scratcher for a lot of fans, because if you think about this entire situation, and there's so many folks that I listen to, so I can't give kudos to everyone, but I was listening to ESPN 99, the fan out of Raleigh. It was Josh Graham, Randy Slack, Adam Gold, talking through this trade. And you go back and look at the trade, and some are saying, yeah, this is the worst trade in franchise history. But I really like Josh Graham's stance on this, that it was the worst pick. Because the trade itself, like if they had gotten CJ Stroud, I don't think there's a chance that this would be the worst trade. It's the worst pick. But you compile that with what was given up to get to this, and you say, yeah, that is the worst trade, considering, hey, we could still have DJ Moore, or we could have traded Brian Burns. We're not going to sit on the past, but if you're a Bears fan, maybe that is what you want to do, is sit on the past and relish in this moment, sit on top of the throne and say, look at us, we won. I don't know that the Panthers, as I've said numerous times, ever come out of this trade saying that they won. And if you are a Panthers fan that thinks that, I think you are absolutely insane. But we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the present and who this team can be with the Chicago Bears right now. And as I get this pulled up on my screen, sorry for the delay. Chicago Bears 2-2. Carolina Panthers, we know, are 1-3. They're 1-1 under Andy Dalton, and had a competitive game against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. If they score on the opening drive where they went forward on fourth down, it's a completely different game. If they make a tackle before halftime, it's a completely different game. So a lot of missed opportunities. You think about the interception, the short field that led to a touchdown. I like our chances. Now, when we look at this matchup, I think it's a battle like we've seen, offense versus defense. Carolina Panthers, surprisingly, it's the offense that's been doing it these last few weeks. Defense, which is depleted without Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell, who are now down to 4 of the original projected 11 starters on this team, have their work cut out for them. And they even brought in Marquise Haynes, former Panther who was a free agent, brought him into the practice squad. I don't know if he gets the call up. There's a potential because he was here last year. They need a pass rush. And we look at the Carolina Panthers. They don't have a pass rush. I was looking at, and we'll pull up the stats in a second, they're towards the bottom of the league in the NFL with number of sacks. And actually, I'm going to do it right here while I have this stat board in front of me. Let's get you the exact number here. 5, which is tied with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have played one more game, believe it or not. And what a win for them last night. We know we're not getting pressure. Minnesota Vikings, on the other hand, without DJ Wonham, 17. Denver Broncos, who we know we have coming up, 16. And even the Giants are third in the league with 15 there. And that's without a lot of production for Brian Burns. But the battle is really going to be, can the Carolina Panthers offense be competitive against the Chicago Bears defense? Stacking this up, on the defensive side of the ball, they are giving up 18.8 points per game, which is 8th in the NFL. Passing yards, their offense is not great. 26th in the league in passing, 165 yards, which we know passing in general is down across the entire NFL. Rushing yards, 87.3, which ranks 29th in the league. And their 19.3 points per game is 21st. On the flip side with Carolina Panthers, passing yards, 182 per game. A lot of that on the shoulders of Andy Dalton and the arm. I mean, you look at where they were the first 2 weeks, it's night and day. Talking about one of the top offenses in the NFL, to be honest, over the last 2 weeks here. But 24th in passing yards, 19th in rushing yards, a very good rushing attack with Chuba Hubbard as they keep leaning into that. When you're competitive, the games are a little bit closer, you can run the ball. 19th. Points per game, 18.3, triple what it was a few weeks ago with Bryce Young leading us with about 6 per game. Much better than last year, too, with an average of around 13. And then giving up 32 points per game. That's your storyline. One, can the Panthers defense slow down Caleb Williams, who hasn't been great? You have a bad defense against a somewhat bad offense. Caleb Williams and the Bears have a ton of weapons. But can we see what this defense can do? A depleted defense. And to be honest, it's no knock on any of the guys that are in this rotation, but there is no pass rush. Harris is barely doing anything. The rotation of DJ Johnson, you have Jadeveon Clowney, the guys in the middle, it's not great. What we're going to have to lean on is the offense. The offense is probably going to have to score at least 21 to 24 points to have a chance. Like, this is weird to be in this situation. Like, I thought when we went through this, we knew the Panthers invested heavily in the offense in the offseason, didn't do a lot on the defense, kind of ignored it. And now here we are. But I think we all pictured, oh, well, if Bryce Young is the one leading us, that's a totally different story. But with Andy Dalton leading, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to be competitive this year, but are we actually going to have a chance to win games? And I think at least for the Panthers' perspective, where they sit right now, for them to still continue to go out and try to find guys through free agency, it shows me that they want to win. And they're not giving up on the season, which I don't blame them, like they shouldn't. The division is competitive. Another loss for Tampa at 3-2, 3-2, and the Saints sitting there at 2-2 as well. I'm not saying Carolina Panthers are going to go out here and make a run, but it is a good opportunity to win and build some momentum. Tough game next week. You can't look ahead. Got to focus on what's at hand. But if this Carolina Panthers team can slow down Caleb Williams, if they can force him into making some of the rookie mistakes, he's, not been nearly as good as Jaden Daniels. And a lot of Bears fans are probably, for all that crap talking, and it's not all of them, but for some of those that do like to talk, got to be wondering, like, you're in a very similar position as the Carolina Panthers were last year and into this year with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and now you have it with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. And like, did you really get the quarterback? Now, I'll say this. I think Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. Dave Canales said it this week. I think he is going to find his groove. And, hey, he'll probably eventually get there, but hopefully not this week, just like Dave Canales said. But on the defensive side of the ball for the Chicago Bears, they've been playing great. And I was pulling up some of their stats before this, and I know we kind of talked a little bit about where they rank on here. Let's pull this back up. So again, yards per game, they are giving up 295, much different than the Carolina Panthers, who are giving up 358. Passing yards per game, let's see. I'll tell you here. Oh, just kicked off, sorry. They are giving up 174, which is not bad. Panthers, on the other hand, 209. And then their rushing defense, yards allowed per game, with the Chicago Bears, 121. We know the Panthers are almost near the last or bottom of the league with 148. So that's going to be part of the story to this game. Talked about offense. Offensively, the weapons for the Panthers, Xavier Legette, can he continue to build on his momentum in the absence of Adam Thielen. I think he's making a clear case with him and Deontay Johnson. Last week, Andy Ball pushed the ball down the field. There was a few drops across the board, some missed opportunities like we talked about. I mean, last week was missed opportunities. I'm not going to say they beat themselves, but to an extent, they kind of did. And so I do think that the Carolina Panthers are going to be competitive. This is a winnable game, more than it has been, and you have the faith and the belief that the Panthers can get the job done. Now, stat comparison between the two sides. So you have Andy Dalton with 539 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Caleb Williams, 787 yards. Sorry, I need to blur my glasses. 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Chuba Hubbard with 296 yards rushing to Swift's 161. And Deontay Johnson, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then DJ Moore, 189. ESPN right now has the Bears as a 4-point favorite and a 63.1% chance according to the matchup predictor. The Bears are 2-0 at home, so they're 2 wins this year. I know one of them was really relying on the defense, but Titans 24-17, they won. And then this last week against the Rams, although I don't think the Rams are a very good football team, and they lost close games, at least scoring-wise, to the Texans and Colts. So, that's your storylines for this. I do think, again, the Panthers should be competitive. I think if they can continue what they did last week and get a few stops, like that's all you need. You need a few stops on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they can pull this out. For those who don't follow me, I'm not big on picking the Panthers to win a lot of games. Y'all know that. I picked them week 1. That was it. Have not picked them since. So this week we are picking a Panthers win, or at least I am. And to keep the momentum going, we've got the keep pounding drum. For those who don't know, that's the new thing that we're going to do here. So I do like the Carolina Panthers to take the dub. Final score prediction. Let's go Panthers 28. Chicago Bears 20. I think they score late. I think the Panthers should win, and I think Chicago should be in shambles. Not them in particular, but the fans are going to lose their minds if they do, in fact, lose this game. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it. I'm going to be back with more content. As always, keep pounding, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Wow.